But respectful. We encourage you, being a veteran parliamentarian, that all questions are through the chair, all answers are through the chair. Resist any attempt to engage directly with any member of the committee, because that will not be helpful. I'll now give the first opportunity to the majority leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Alice, you've been very passionate, and I could tell you're very passionate on the girl child issues. And now that you mentioned Siakago girls and how you went there and there was no water, I'm sure you're also certain that many parts of Siakago today still don't have water, and so are very many other parts of Kenya. His Excellency the President, in his address to the nation, to Parliament, did indicate that there are plans by the ministry, and I know you are here to report to the ministry, but I would really want to hear your thoughts on the question of the water purchase agreements under the PPP model. And being a lawyer, I'm certain you would be able to interrogate such agreements. But of concern to me would be the cost. Because as you have said, water is critical, water is life, and if that commodity becomes very costly, either to government or to the people, then it also becomes out of reach. What measures do you plan to institute in case you are approved to ensure these water purchase agreements don't end up in PPP arrangements that are extremely expensive, either to the exchequer or the end product being very expensive to the ordinary Kenyan who is yet to access water?
Yes.
One first.
We're doing four batches, one day.
Yes. Thank you, Chair. Honorable Wahome, some Kenyans have accused you of having a volatile temperament. In other words, of having a short fuse. That you lose your temper so quickly. Okay. Some Kenyans accuse you of that. They may be wrong or they may be right. A case in point is the issue of 27th October 2017, when you were captured on camera, roughing up and assaulting an IBC official by the name Martin Malonza over some disagreement on the filling of some forms, electoral forms, at Ngararia Girls High School in Kandara. I'm sure you'll recall that incident. From where you sit, how would you take this act, considering the requirements, the stringent requirements of Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and especially Article 73, Sub-Article 1, which provides that authority assigned to a state officer, and by then you are a state officer, because you are an MP, that authority assigned to a state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that, among other things, demonstrates respect for the people and brings honor to the nation and dignity to the office. 2, there is a matter, that is the succession course number 527 of 1981, if you may remember, where Miss Alice Mudoni Wahome, I'm not sure if it is you, will confirm, together with other 3 advocates, were accused of misappropriating Kenya shillings 284 million, money that came from the estate of Mbiu Koinange. And this is captured in a judgment that was delivered by Justice Agri Muchelule, then judge of the High Court, on the 7th May 2020. What do you have to say about this matter? And how does it place you within the context of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, and particularly Chapter 6 of the Constitution, as you plead with us to approve your nomination to this very high office? Thank you.
I'll give to the Deputy Speaker.
Again, Honorable Wahome, congratulations. As a woman, I'm immensely proud of your getting this far. As you know,
said the same to any man.
yes.
With a light touch, she has not said the same to any man.
Yeah. It's called positive discrimination. I see that part of your docket will deal with the sanitation. And as you know, 73% of the plastic waste generated in Kenya remains uncollected and unrecycled, which is something that can produce energy for the cities around Nairobi. How do you plan to make a change to this tide and ensure that recycling and proper sanitation does in fact become a thing of the order of the day? Thank you.
Yes, Junet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Chair, I wanted to ask the nominee that the docket that she has been nominated for is a docket that requires services all over the country. Water is essential and water is required all over the country. So I wanted to ask her, the nominee, how well does she know Kenya outside Kandara and outside Siakago Girls High School? What is her grasp of the country? Does she know outside Kandara how the country looks like? The second question I wanted to ask, and my last one, is there is a matter that came up in 2016, I think I was in Parliament, when Justice Philomena Mwilu was being vetted. And the nominee raised an issue and said that she had taken a bribe of 3 million shillings on a matter that she has filed in court. And she even wrote a letter to the EACC claiming that she is ready to present a proof. What is her position on that matter? Does she still stand on those grounds that that matter was and it is as she said at that moment in time? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You may answer those four before we get another batch of four.
Thank you. I will start chronologically the way they came.
Yes.
Kimani Ichung'wa, you want to know how we shall deal with the hire purchase agreements for purposes of ensuring that we come up with, infrastructure. How shall that anchor or sit with the consumers and maybe the water development agencies? The cost aspect of that, how shall we regulate? First, we do have WASREB, that is the main body that deals with the water regulation in terms of costing. But if you recall that on the State of the Nation address, the President indicated that he would be willing to commit the country to the tune of 500 billion for water resources development. I would, if I am approved, be supporting that, and I hope that it is something that Parliament will be able to attend to and support. At the moment, we are having a budget of 24 billion shillings and from the GOK, and then another 54 billion shillings, totaling to about 78 billion. The money that we have, the 54 is from partners, World Bank, IMF, African Development Bank. So if we are going to raise 500 billion shillings between now and Vision 2030, we will need to partner with the private developers. The concern of Kenyans is understandable because they are wondering, are we selling a basic right or leaving it to the exploitation of commercial or private individuals or companies. The purchase agreement, water purchase agreement, will be able, in my view, working with the Office of the Attorney General, stakeholders, the public in public participation, be able to come up with the proper frameworks that will ensure that Kenyans are not exposed. Currently, when the government develops water, when the ministry engages the water development works agencies, then they are, of course, the water service providers. The regulation in place, the strategy and policy in place ensures that the element of cost is under control, regulated, and I know there are cases where it may not be properly regulated, and that is a part of the reforms that we are working on. For me, it is possible. We must not see public-private partnerships as commercializing the water. We must see that as a need to develop the infrastructure, the way you would invest on a highway, on a road, and then engage the agency for purposes of then ensuring water is distributed to the consumer at a controlled and regulated space and pace. And I think I have answered that question. I'm a practicing advocate. I've held my certificate since 1985. To date, I have a practicing certificate. Anybody who has taken clients' money may not be very lucky to have a practicing certificate for the period that I have had. The complaint you allude to occurred or was filed in 2012. The DCI has had that file, and it only becomes live when I'm about to go to elections, 2013, 2017, and 2022. You will find it being brought up even in the media, but finally the DPP had the opportunity with the DCI to look at the matter. It is 3 advocates plus myself, and the Office of the Director has directed that there is no criminal liability in the matter. I don't want to go into deeper details, but any advocate who is handling an estate matter or estate funds has a duty and responsibility to file an statement of account in court. What the court or the complainant would do is to demand for an account, because we did account for all the monies that we received, and I do not owe, neither do my colleagues, the other 3 colleagues, including the late Munari. I believe that is the answer. We have not been prosecuted, we have not been charged, and I do not see any charge coming because it was pure malice or a party that did not want to pay fees. Let me remind you that an advocate has a lien over any money that they hold. They are entitled to charge their fees directly and render an account to the client. If a client is not satisfied, they can ask the court to look at the bill, do taxation, meaning the bill will be assessed by a deputy registrar on behalf of the parties. And if they need further recourse, the Law Society has a complaints commission. That matter has never gone to the complaints commission. I believe it was vendetta, if maybe not by the client, but advocates that felt maybe it was a good brief and they could take over from us. Let me go to the question of, I think you had another. You were asking in terms of public trust. I believe I will be able to hold the office with honor. I have not been taken to any court of law, and even assuming I was taken to a court of law, maybe there would be dishonor if I'm found guilty. assault, allegations of assault in the 2017 elections. I want to say that that matter was also investigated. No return was made in terms of any charges. I have not been charged. There was an altercation. I do not recall. You would not say what happened was assault against the returning officer. We had a tussle. It's regrettable, I would say so, but we had a tussle. The background of that was an issue of accounting in terms of votes given wrongly, posted wrongly. We had a returning officer who did not want to answer. It did not need to end where it ended. And that is something I'm sure even himself, myself, we regret. We could have solved it a little better and tidier. Gladys Shorey is asking me about recycling. How do we deal with sanitation? These are matters that, the ministry is involved with the development of water, resources, sanitation, and irrigation. In terms of sanitation, per year, we are funding all necessary projects to the tune of only about